Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience.
We are now
Welcome back.
boarding all groups for American Airlines Flight 2505
Yeah.
with service to Charlotte. So that everyone
Perfect
can leave on
segue.
time, please board now through gate 8.
That announcement means we're going to get interrupted because I'm in Newark Airport about to head out on a one-day trip. I'm flying to Chicago for an appointment with a client, basically for lunch. Yeah, this is my industry. We fly to places still, we still see people in person, and that's just part of the pharmaceutical industry, advertising and marketing agency world, and I'm happy to do it. It's still very adventurous. Kind of cool to fly in and fly out, shoot in and shoot out, as they say in the world of Bond. But it occurred to me that I had to pack to fly in to Chicago same day and fly back out. I'm going to do an everyday carry video about what I would carry on a trip like this. And many of the things I was picking up to put into my briefcase were things that I will actually choose whether I'm going to be in an airport or not. So the perfect opportunity. We're going to start with the basics, as in, what am I using to hold all of my everyday carry? And by the way, EDC, these are popular videos to do because people want to find out, what is a Bond fan carrying in their pocket? And yes, you're going to find that most of the items have been influenced by James Bond. So first of all, my briefcase. My briefcase is something pretty interesting. It's not a well-known brand. It's called Maverick & Company. Small brand that was started by a gentleman who used to work for Prada, and you could tell because the color of this is very interesting. It's a navy blue, interior is orange, and I had to choose something that was a little bit different. I didn't want a black Toomey briefcase like everybody has. I can't stand the backpacks when I'm traveling on business. I'm sorry, it's just not very Bond. When was the last time you saw James Bond wear a backpack? But the Maverick, for example, is very cool, and it's got this hop stitch, almost like the Prada belt that Bond wears in Quantum of Solace. So this is what I'm using to hold all of my parts and pieces. But what are those parts and pieces? Well, first of all, and again, I'm going to get down to some basics here. Now, all of them are going to seem very sexy, but a pack of tissues, yeah. So you never see this in a James Bond film, but these come in incredibly handy, especially during allergy seasons. I've got my Claritin D on board, but
American Airlines Flight 2505 to Charlotte.
oh,
You're holding confirmed CBS
but
that you
these are
board.
perfect for this
Flight
occasion. Nice,
2505 to
small,
Charlotte.
innocuous. This is very James Bondish. So this is the, ready for this? It's called the Eon. And this Eon is thinner, or as thin as a credit card. And guess what it is, folks? It's a light, high intensity light. I've used this when I've been in hotels, when it goes dark, or if something falls in the seat of when you're flying on the plane, you have a light. Now, I get it. Our phones today are some of the best tools that we have in the trade. That's why Bond uses a phone in Quantum of Solace. But this is perfect because it fits into my briefcase. It can fit into my pocket. It's small, has an incredible battery life. I've had this for I don't know how many years, and it hasn't run out of juice, which is good. Speaking of running out of juice, your phone, which is your best weapon, tool of a spy, fictional and otherwise, will go dark on you. It will lose power. Sometimes you're not by a plug or an outlet throughout your travels. So what do? Well, I have this, it's called the Zoom, and the Zoom is a brick. Now, there are bigger power bars, power bricks, whatever you want to call them. This one by Zoom is phenomenal because it has 14 hours of life back to your phone. So let's say my phone goes down to a single digit, which will drive me nuts. That's just my manic sense to it. I just take my cord, which here's another thing that you're going to need that I carry all the time is a cord. And to that cord, I have one of these plugs. I'm sure you've seen that. But if you don't have a plug, all you do is take your cord. Dun, 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 dun. It ain't difficult. Plug it in to the Zoom, plug it into my phone, and it is what's called a rapid charge. So within 1 hour's time, I get a full battery life for the entire day back into my phone. And I will be using this today because I I left my house at 3:30, 4 in the morning, and I'm coming back. I land at 11:30 at night. So I will be using that Zoom charge. I do not leave home without it. And it's a long day. It's a long day, and I want to stay fresh. I'll be sitting next to people. I want to be sensitive. Bond would be sensitive about his, not so much vanity, but hygiene and cleanliness. That is the Bond way. It's the Bond style. There are these. These are deodorant wipes. Look again. And again, everything that I'm showing you is so small. It could fit into your pocket. It could fit into your wallet. Certainly fits into my attaché case. It is a deodorant wipe. You just take it out wherever you are, boom, 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 or wherever you need a little freshening up. You determine where that is. It's very gentle on the skin. I've got sensitive skin. So this thing rocks. And if you need something to kind of freshen up the face, guys, don't be embarrassed. It's 2025. This is Ursa Major Essential Face Wipe. I do take a couple of these. This is a multi-purpose. So not only does it refresh and revitalize you, like, the backpack it says, sort of wipes away some of the sweat and dirt of the day.
Flight 2505 with service to Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. Not going to Charlotte. This is a situation where there's a lot of free radicals. Free radicals, just like Never Say Never Again, are hitting and bombarding you, and you get to clean yourself because, I don't know about you, when I come back from like a trip, especially to the airport to and from, and I'm running around, you feel like a sweaty mess. These are ways to kind of battle that. And if we're dealing with smells and things that happen from a bodily standpoint, you know what a tool of the trade is that I have? A tool of the trade that I have that I really enjoy is Orbit Gum. The Bond Experience brought to you by Orbit Gum. Why do I sound like Casey Kasem? Casey Kasem, top 40 video. No, Orbit Gum. I always have a pack of gum, and listen, I get it, going chewing your gum like a cow chews its cud it's not the most romantic thing. It's not the most Bond thing. But if I'm eating something or I have coffee or morning breath or whatever it is, and I'm about to see a client, there's nothing better than Orbit Gum to remove food, remove a little bit of plaque, and also remove a little bit of odor and halitosis. Even though halitosis happens in your stomach, wow, you're getting medical, David. This is something that is pretty pertinent and pretty important. Now, I talked about clients. I am not one of these people that likes to have these giant notebooks when I'm traveling. I don't want a legal pad or anything like that. Field notes. I know, this is a personalized sticker, what a geek I am. But there's something called field notes. They're really small, thin. Again, we're going for thinness, everyday carry. And this is something I can just jot something down. I'm not gonna write a dissertation, so I don't need anything too big, but I need something to write with. And this is part of my everyday carry. I carry at least 2 pens because one's gonna go wrong, one's gonna go dry. I've got my GoldenEye 3. We don't go in for exploding pens. So I've got my Cross pen here. Love this thing, go with it everywhere. But I also have the Bond Experience pen, which has a stylus on it, and it's living like Bond, one moment at a time, which is what we're doing right now. I will carry that with me because it's part of the tools that you need to educate yourself and keep notes. You never know when you're going to need a pen. And I can't tell you how many times people have asked me to borrow that pen. This is something unique. And again, Bond, whether he's picking a lock or tools of the trade, this is a small, it's an eyeglass case or eyeglass fixer, tool, let's go with that. It's basically a mini screwdriver, series of mini screwdrivers and screws because things happen. And things happen to your glasses, and this has a magnifier to it. It's a little repair. You can get these in any grocery store. Any grocery store will have these. It's like $1.95. You put it into your luggage or your pocket and you forget about it, and I've used it a million times. This is a glass case. But I carry this with me everywhere. In fact, when I'm not traveling through an airport, I tend to carry this because I don't know about you, but I usually have my eyeglasses that I need because of distance, but I also have a pair of sunglasses. So I'm not going to carry two cases. That's not very Bond-like. That's not very efficient and simple. So I took this Omega watch case, which is very thin, very innocuous, and it's got two areas that would typically hold watches with a nice separation, but I use it for my glasses. And then Bob's your uncle. It's easy, it's simple, and I love simplicity. All right, speaking of simple, it used to be that spies in the trade had to wear these giant headphones or noise canceling units. I don't know. I like a good Qbranch issued AirPod. And yes, that does say Qbranch issued. You can have these AirPods if you order from Apple personalized. And I just thought it would be fun to have something that says Qbranch issued. These are a necessity. I actually forgot these on a trip that I went on. And it was not a good trip because I need to silence the children. Not physically, like because they're crying sometimes, and just the engine noise and things like that. So this goes with me, and business calls. It's just very small, noise canceling. If you don't have these, move into this Century, why don't you? And speaking of Century, I've seen wallets when I travel, and they're not very James Bond-like. They're like the George Costanza wallets that look like they're ready to explode, like the big Reuben sandwich size wallets. That's not going to do for a James Bond fan. So I use this. Now this is not really denoted even as a wallet. See how thin it is? It's considered a card holder. It happens to be a 007 Globetrotter one. This came out around the time of Spectre, and they reissued these through the different movies. But what I love about this is you can hold about 5 or 6 cards comfortably where it's not exploding. And why is that good? Because if you're holding 250 cards in cash, and first of all, who carries cash nowadays? But if you're holding all of that in there, there's no need. You're not being efficient. So I've moved a lot of my friends down to wallets, card holders this size, because it forces you to be efficient and understand what are the top 4 or 5 cards you really need. You need an ID, you need a couple credit cards as backup, maybe a priority card, that's it. And quite frankly, on your phone nowadays, as my wife has taught me, you don't even need this because all of your cards can be held on your phone. So you really want to create something efficient. And if I put this in my pocket, it's not this big bulging unit. I am so regretting that I said big bulging unit. Or am I? No, but it's not. It's not a big bulging unit that you would have. So it's fantastic. Now, these are simple, easy carries that I just showed you. This is a little bit more of a commitment, and I wouldn't take this everywhere, but I have an attaché. I'm going to take advantage of it. So this is what I affectionately call my comfort pack. And this is just everything else that I'm going to need. For example, medicine. And this is a simple pill case. You can get this for like under $1 at a drugstore. It's got 2 compartments. I have Advil, Tylenol, I have everything like that, headache sauce. I don't typically get headaches, but it's in there. Allergy medicine in case I need a backup. And the other side, this is the crazy, has Himalayan sea salt. Now, if you've watched any of my nutrition stuff, the reason I have everyday carry as Himalayan sea salt is it quells hunger. I know it shouldn't work. It does. If I'm traveling, I don't want to eat, I'm sorry to say, some of the crap that you get on the plane or that you get in an airport. I don't really want to get protein bars because a lot of them are just like candy bars. I take 1 or 2 of these, it quells my hunger until I get to the restaurant with the client and I've chosen a healthy restaurant. I know, even in Chicago, you would think deep dish pizza? No, healthy Mediterranean. But my comfort pack has some other stuff. For example, Floris. Now, I love these kind of Floris travel tubes. This is the 007 one. I'm staying on brand, people. I am. But just a little squirt to freshen up when I land. Fits the ticket. And because dry, airports and planes by nature, they rob you of moisture. And yes, that even affects men. Sorry, I don't want to look every minute of my 57 years. So this is Aquaphor. And this little tube has been fantastic. It's great for the hands. It's great for a little, like if you have a dry patch, it's kind of a wonder. And it's got SPF 30. So if I'm going to be out in the sun and I'm like, crap, I'm out in the sun, you just put da-da-da-da-da-da, and it's not premature aging you. And I even keep a little thing of Aquaphor for my lips separately from my skin one. That's important because if you're dotting yourself and touching your face and touching, you don't want to put that same stuff around your mouth or your eyes. That's how people get really sick. And trust me, I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. Very easy to get sick when you're traveling. A lot of it is taking all of that wonderful bacteria and viruses and touching your nose and eyes, thus the tissues. That's a separate thing of Aquaphor. All right, there goes the comfort pack. Now, this wouldn't be a Bond video without talking about something else that's sort of my everyday carry, which is my clothing. I mean, I don't carry it in a briefcase or in my pocket, but I carry it on my back. And yes, as a Bond fan, I am highly influenced by James Bond. Today, for example, I was considerate of Danielle. I actually got ready in our Nordic room, which is our guest room, so I wouldn't wake her up. I went into the bathroom, and this is what I wore. I was feeling Thunderball, so I wore a Thunderball Fred Perry shirt. I want to be comfortable. The temperatures are going to range from 47 degrees all the way up to 66 degrees, so I got to be able to have layers. I wore this NPL top because it travels really well. It's a cashmere, and it's silk. And a pair of all bar brown and a pair of, check out these shoes. The shoes are super comfortable for all day wear. It's Crockett & Jones, and it's the Hamiltons. It's the 60th anniversary Bond release of the Hamiltons in this really great color. I went for style, yes, but I also went for comfort. And in doing that, I wanted to have socks that were Bond themed, but as we know, the London Sock Exchange has great socks. I'm wearing those. And folks, I had to round it out with an Omega watch. This one in particular is my good luck watch. Who doesn't have a good luck watch? And it's my Quantum of Solace. So my clothing has to be, yes, Bond influenced, Bond themed through all the brands that I mentioned are Bond brands or they're actual Bond items like the Fred Perry from Thunderball, but they have to be comfortable. I can't travel all day, be running, seeing clients, sweating bullets, or constantly moving my collar around. These things have to be really perfect and really comfortable. And that's part of it. Everything that I have in my everyday carry has to not be overly thought out. Although I just went through 18 to 20 minutes of going over my everyday carry as if I had strategically aligned everything, this has become what I call white noise. My everyday carry has become so natural. And that's what you want for your everyday carry, not something that's going to be intrusive or obtuse, but something that's going to be subtle. That's the secret to a James Bond 007-like everyday carry. Well, I hope that was fun and helpful, and that's what my everyday carry is. I'd like to know, what are some of the pieces that you carry in your everyday as part of being a James Bond fan? I want to learn from you as well. In the meantime, I got to get on a plane. This has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching the Bond Experience. If you like what you saw, why don't you subscribe to the channel by clicking this button right here. We'll keep you up on everything new that's happening in the world of Bond. And speaking of something new, here's something new just for you because we know you so well. Talk to you soon.